Hello everybody, Marcy here, and I'm going to call this a super duper important tutorial. We aren't going to be drawing, but this is a reference tutorial you can use for every single thing that we do when we're working together. So I'm going to call this, why do some drawings look real and other ones don't? You've always heard someone come up and go, oh, that's such a good drawing. You know, how did you do that? It looks so real. So let's just quickly talk about what that is. And we'll talk about, this is a pear, or supposed to be a pear. What you see here is an outline of a pear. And what happens is we learn about pears, what our brain does, we learn a symbol for a pear. So that's basically an outline of a pear. But when we look at a pear, it really doesn't actually look like that. So there's a symbol of a pear. So now I'm going to show you this pear. So why does this pear look more like a pear than that pear? Well, it's because of the shading. And that's because our eyes actually see things in terms of darks and lights, which I talk constantly about in my videos. I don't get super specific when I do the artwork, but this is really part of how I draw and paint. So let's talk about what happens when light hits an object and what makes it look quote unquote real. Well, let's say that you've got a light. Let's say it's coming in through your window and hitting this pear. The first place it hits is here, and it's called the highlight. So that's the lightest part. The next parts are called midtones, and it's gradually darkening. They're not independent, but it's a graded darkening down toward this part, which is called the core of the shadow. And that's a super part that's dark and you almost see no light. Now there is some light. And the reason that there is some light on this side of that pear is it's reflected light. So you will notice if you look at a pear or any other object that on this far side you are going to see reflected light. And it's what gives it its roundness. Without the reflected light, just a little bit on this side, it would look totally flat. Down here is something we call a cast shadow. No light is getting there. This pear is preventing any light that's coming here from hitting right under it. It is the darkest dark, and I've mentioned that in other tutorials. Another thing that makes this look dimensional. Cast shadow. So reflected light, which I put here twice, and you can see that even happens up here on this stem. So you'll have a highlight, you will have a core of the shadow, you will have a reflected light coming on the other side. So let's look at some other shapes. And they make you do these in art classes, but let's look at the basic shapes that exist in this world. I'll put our pear aside here. And so we have a circle. So you can see this pear, I hope you can see this pear, is partially made of this circle here on the bottom. See it? And if you look at it, you're seeing these same things happening right there. There's our highlight. But now he's got another piece on the top which almost looks a little bit like this pyramid, or actually this cone. So this thing is happening up here as well. So if we broke him down, he might look a little bit like that. So let's say he's a cone and a circle put together. So he's two shapes. And that light theory is happening in both of those shapes, but they're melded together, so it kind of creates, some other things occurring. So here we have a square. You've got a sharp light hitting here, a cylinder, and this pyramidal shape and this cone shape. So what are we seeing when we see these out in the world? So we've been doing landscapes. This could be your house in a landscape, this square. So you think of your house, you're going to see it. See how these tones are different? This one's lighter than this, and this is the darkest. And there's a cast shadow over here. This could be your tree trunk. This could be your tree trunk up here. So you'll have this light. There's that core of the shadow, the cast shadow. This could be the roof of your house. This could be the animal body shape or a person's body shape or even a bush. So looking at these shapes and how light hits them is what gives them dimension and makes them look real. And you'll see that in every tutorial we do. So just quickly back. When you draw things with just lines, you're drawing a symbol of the shape. When you're drawing things with this shading, you're drawing how our eyes actually see. And different artists will do it different ways, and your art will be your art. But as we work together in tutorials, I do tend to have quite a bit of tonality in all my tutorials. So that's how to make your art look more realistic. And you can refer back to this at any time. This actually is called light theory. So thank you again, and this is MarcyFineArt signing off. See you soon.